So mornings in our home set the tone for the rest of the day. And over time, at least for me personally, I've learned that really having gentle rhythms make all the difference in how my day flows, especially as a mama. And so before we even sit down for our core homeschool lessons, I feel like there's just so much that happens. So all those little moments that, even though they might seem small, really do help build that atmosphere that I'm really looking to create for our home and homeschool. And having those different rhythms has really helped me achieve that. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about today is, for one, really what I do to kind of flow into that homeschool morning. And my entire goal, especially for my morning rhythm, and I have rhythms all throughout the day, which I'll share in an upcoming video, but I'm talking specifically my flow and rhythm before we start school. The reason why this is so important to me, especially as a homeschool mama, is because I want to have the end goal of being present during our homeschool lessons. And if I have all of these things distracting me of things I need to get done, breakfast dishes to clean up and everything, it makes it really hard for me to concentrate fully and be fully present while we're doing our homeschool morning. So having those rhythms in place of, after I get ready for the day, we start breakfast, but then after breakfast, that rhythm might look like, we're cleaning up, we're getting all the dishes done, everything is put away, all the counters are wiped down, all the clutter's out of the kitchen and things like that. We do homeschool in our dining room space, so that also helps me stay accountable for making sure, like in between those meals and snack times and things like that, that everything does get cleaned up. That's just part of our kind of flow in our day, is cleaning up between meals. And so a huge part of my rhythm is going from cleaning up the kitchen to then I flow into having some learning time, as they call it, with my two little ones. I have a preschooler and then a toddler. And then we will rotate doing our workbook things versus just playing. I also want to say that in the preschool years and toddler years, especially toddler years, that for my preschooler, if she gets tired of doing like a workbook thing, or I kind of sense that maybe she's getting a little bit bored with it, the following day I will opt to not open their workbooks and we'll just do hands-on learning. And so today for our learning time, we just did ice cream shop. This is one of their all-time favorite activities right now. It's getting their little ice cream cones out. I made some Play-Doh a few days prior, so we were getting that out to play. And because we were doing that and they're having such a great time, my second and third grader wanted to join in as well. So we used this time to practice counting out money for change as we ran the ice cream shop. This was such a fun morning, and it really flowed beautifully into when I was then able to sit down with my second and third grader, because my preschooler and toddler, their attention cups and their love cups were kind of all filled up and ready to go. So once we played the ice cream shop game for a little bit, I went ahead and set up with my toddler and my preschooler some more Play-Doh things. That way they were able to stay entertained and engaged with one another, as I was then able to sit down and do some homeschooling with my second and third grader. So even with having all the different rhythms and routines in place, not every morning is going to run smoothly. I mean, some days there are just, in between homeschooling, there's just messes to clean up, spills to clean, little ones who need mama's attention, and those unexpected things that can make me feel like I'm already behind before the day has truly begun. And there are mornings when you have restless little ones that interrupt each other, and when you're trying to read aloud with multiples at the same time, and when math takes twice as long as I planned, or when emotions run high and the patience feels in very short supply with everybody involved. In those moments, I always remind myself that I have a choice. I can definitely let frustration take over, or I can pause, take a deep breath, and remember that first and foremost, my children are watching me, and they're learning really far more from how I handle these moments than from any lessons I teach them. They will, of course, remember whether I met interruptions with kindness or irritation, or whether I let the stress steal the peace from our home, or whether or not I anchored myself in God's grace. And it's really easy, especially as a homeschool mama, for me personally, to think that homeschooling is just about academics, right? We need to sit down, do the workbook things, and move on with the day. But the truth is, the atmosphere of our home is really shaping their hearts just as much as their minds. And I feel like when I choose gentleness over frustration, I am teaching them patience. And when I admit my mistakes and ask for forgiveness when I do fall short, I am teaching them humility. And when I stop to pray in the middle of a very frustrating morning sometimes, I am teaching them where our true strength comes from. And that's when they themselves learn how to anchor themselves in God's grace as well. One of my favorite verses is Psalms 127:1, and it reminds me that unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. And I can make all the plans and have all the rhythms in the world, but ultimately, if I forget to rely on Him in those daily moments, I will only be striving in my own strength. So when the day feels like it's unraveling before it even begins, or you feel like you're behind before the day started, something I have to remind myself of is that God's mercies are new every single morning, and there's just so much grace for the hard moments, for the unexpected delays, unexpected moments, and for my own shortcomings. So what I do if I feel like I'm entering in those overwhelming moments is I just take a deep breath, reset my heart, and remember that my greatest work today is not checking off every subject or keeping the house spotless. It's not. It's not about all those fleeting, passing things. It's truly about faithfully loving and leading my children, moment by moment, but only with the grace that God has given me.